Ready?
Let's go.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Lisa Sandlin with WealthWave. This is, I guess, the third of our crisis recovery health and wellness program, or I'm sorry, wellness and wealth program. So what we do here at WealthWave is we teach people how money works. Most people have never been taught the basic concepts of money or how it can work for you. Financial illiteracy, not understanding how money works, is a huge problem and causes many people to make poor decisions regards to their money. So our mission is try to teach people how money works. Today we're going to focus on women and women's wealth and wellness, which one might think would be the same as a man, but there are some things that occur throughout a woman's lifetime that set us a little bit apart from men and their financial futures. So we're going to talk today about no woman being left behind. If you look at your screen, we've got a PowerPoint going on. 43% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. 85% of those are women. Women still earn 82 cents for every dollar earned by a man. That means we have to work an extra 47 days to earn what men do. Now, I don't know any woman that has an extra day in their schedule, let alone an extra 47 days per year to be able to make what a man makes. This happens because we take days off of work to take care of our children, our parents, and our partners. We had a discussion yesterday on the chamber conversation about a book entitled Invisible Women. And there were a lot of things that were brought to light about women being caregivers. And why is that we are the caregivers? I think it's because we're more nurturing by nature and that we want to be the caregivers, but there's another philosophy that it has been encultured that we have become the caregivers just due to society and the culture. So I digress, sorry. These interruptions happen because we take, these interruptions in our career can significantly impact our chances for promotions, our ability to earn higher income levels, and for some women, even it interrupts the vesting into a full retirement benefit. So we slip behind every day. Over time, when a woman reaches retirement age, she will have $1 million less than a man who has continuously stayed in the workforce. The interruptions also affect our Social Security. You guys want to let Nancy come in? These interruptions also affect our Social Security. Retired women receive 80% of what retired men receive in Social Security benefits. So is it a surprise that nearly half of women are not confident about their finances and their retirement? In 2001, Congress enacted the No Child Left Behind Act, which was a federal law designed to level the playing field for all students, regardless of race, economic status, or physical abilities. A few years later, WFG, my home company, announced that there would be no family left behind. Typically, in the financial services industry, if you don't have a certain amount of money, say $250,000, some companies $500,000, it's really hard to get a financial professional to work with you. It's getting even harder today because of the internet. People just basically get an 800 number or a website. So at WealthWave, we are committed to no woman left behind. And what that means is that as women, we need to start having conversations about money. Now, what I have found in my many years in this industry are that women prefer to talk to women. But in our industry, there's only a fraction of financial advisors, coaches, professionals that are actually women. So we need to start asking questions. We need to ask questions like, how do I protect my family if something happens to me? Do I need to worry about long-term care? What is long-term care? Some people don't even know what that is. How do I minimize my taxes in retirement? And if we get an answer with a lot of financial jargon, we have to insist on answers that we can understand. We need to learn how money works. Our company has recently published this book, How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. I've had it on all of the programs that I've done so far. If anybody would like this book, Laura, if you'll type my information and give it, provide it to everybody, they can reach out to me and I will make sure that you get a free copy of How Money Works. We need to apply the 7 money milestones, and those are discussed in the book. By understanding and paying attention to all of these things that make up our financial picture, which is financial education, proper protection, having an emergency fund, understanding how to reduce debt or debt management, understanding cash flow, which just means knowing what you have coming in and what you have going out, building wealth and protecting wealth, we will have the power to take control over our financial future. And the best time to start is always now. We need to save more money. If we save $10 a day, we'll roughly have $300 by the end of the month. If you need to start smaller, then just save $5 a day by the end of the month. You'll have $150 roughly. We like to talk about the money that we spend frivolously, say maybe that extra Starbucks coffee or what I like to call frou-frou coffees. You can take and eliminate one of those and start saving some money that can really make a difference in your life. We need to start planning for our financial goals. What does that mean? We need to set some goals. We need to know what it is that we want down the road. As women, I guess maybe not just women, but we spend more time planning a party or a vacation than we do our financial future. We need to identify what it is that we want for ourselves and for our family, and then we need to start putting in place the things that we need to do to reach those goals. We also need to think about the career paths that we choose. We should consider choosing a career that pays women and men equally and a greater income. We need a company that doesn't penalize us for time spent taking care of loved ones, a place where we're paid the same as men for our hard work. What would you do if you had more control over your time? Would you be there for your children and your parents whenever you wanted or whenever they needed you? Would you pursue a hobby or a volunteer at your favorite charity? Or would you just spend time for yourself for a change? If we keep playing by the same rules in the man's world, nothing is going to change. So ladies, let's break some rules. Here at WealthWave, we are breaking rules. We are disrupting the financial services industry. We are focusing on women as financial professionals and as clients. We've made a lot of progress in pursuing higher education and professional careers, but we've made incremental progress in our finances. Although the gender pay gap has narrowed since 1980, it's remained stable over the last 15 years. So if you want to bring about profound change, we have to make it happen. There's a saying that you can't be what you can't see, which may explain partly why there aren't enough women financial professionals. So here at WealthWave, women are welcome, women are equal, and WealthWave women succeed. So that's the end of my presentation on No Women Left Behind. I'm hoping that that sparks some questions, that we can have a conversation, because that was one of the main things about the presentation, was that we need to start having a conversation about money. And we need to know more about money, and we need to understand what are the important things that we need to do with our money? How do we save? How do we know how to save? How do we know where to save? Who do we talk to for help? So does anybody have any questions for me? You have to ask questions or this is going to be a really quick show.
Lisa, can you talk a little bit about the different kinds of financial services that are provided with WealthWave?
So we are a full service provider when it comes to anything that is gearing you towards your retirement, towards just your daily living. So those 7 money milestones that we talked about, if we look at just understanding your cash flow, that's having a budget. Understanding and knowing what you have coming in and what you have going out. I've been doing this for a really long time, and there are very few families that I sit down with that truly know what their budget is. They might write a budget, but they don't really follow a budget. So I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but all the people that are listening to this, seriously think about, do you have that kind of control over the money that you have coming into your household? Do you know what you're spending on those coffees every month? Do you know what you're spending driving the family through a drive-through restaurant? So those are places that money just gets away from us. When we do a financial needs analysis, which is a free service that we provide, we look at and ask you all the questions of what you have going out on a monthly basis. When I come back with the analysis and you also tell me what you have coming in. So we have the in and we have the out. When I come back and I tell the families how much money they have left over at the end, they look at me like I have a third eye, because I always say, you've got $2,000 or $3,000 extra per month. And they're like, no, we don't. We can't even pay our bills at the end of the month. We always run out of money before the month is over. So not having that kind of control really sets the stage for not ever having control of your financial future. So understanding budgeting and cash flow is really important. Another area that we cover that is critical is understanding your debt and managing your debt and knowing how money works, both for you and against you. So as we talked about in the book of how money works, there's the rule of 72 that tells you how quickly money will double. It's a mathematical equation. If you have money earning 1% and you want to know how quickly that money is going to double, you divide 72 by 1, and it's going to double in 72 years. That works the other way around. If you have money on a credit card at 20%, divide that into 72. That's how quickly their money that you're loaning them is going to, or that they're using of your money is going to double on their behalf. So you have to understand how interest works, and a lot of people just don't understand those basic concepts. So we teach those. Our number one mission is financial education. The entire mission behind the How Money Works book, right here, our Bible, is to eradicate financial illiteracy. Finances are not taught. They're not taught in schools. There's just, I think we're now up to 21 states in the country that actually have adopted some type of a financial program at the high school level. But basically, it's usually 1 quarter. Sometimes it's only been about 2 weeks. The last grade card that I saw for Ohio was an F, that they had implemented it, but it's not being implemented very well. So we're just trying to teach those basic concepts. You have to understand the importance of an emergency fund. That's one of the steps, is having that emergency fund established. There's almost half of Americans today do not have even $400 in the bank as an emergency fund. Any type of cash that they can access. They are living paycheck to paycheck. Now that was the situation before COVID and before this pandemic. I can't imagine what it's like now. Although I think that the people that are drawing unemployment might be more flush with cash than they've ever been in their life. I've been hearing astronomical numbers. However, I will share with you, One of my colleagues that I work with at the Y got a letter yesterday from unemployment that they had overpaid her $3,200 and she owed it back. So this all of this, we talked about it yesterday, the PPE or with John Kirsch, the PPP program, the unemployment program, the EIDL loan from the SBA. These things went into effect so quickly that the rules were kind of all over the place and nobody really knows what was happening with them. We don't know how we can use the money. We don't know if the money's going to be forgiven. And with unemployment, they might have overpaid you and you might owe it back. So again, having an emergency fund and knowing that it's not if something's going to happen to your family, it's always when. The refrigerator's going to break, the tire's going to need replaced. You're going to have something occur in your life that even if you manage your debt well and you get out of credit card debt, if you don't have an emergency fund established that you can tap into when these things happen, what do? You go right back into credit card debt. So emergency fund, cash flow, and debt management, three basic, really important keys or milestones in understanding and how you work your money and how you let your money work for you. Then we talk about proper protection. And that's an area that most women don't really think about as far as covering us. How do I protect my family against my loss of income? We think about protecting our husbands, our spouses' income, because we depend on that for a large portion of paying our bills, right? Typically, the man makes more. We're changing that, but typically in this country, that's the way that it is. So we have life insurance. I hate the term life insurance because life insurance cannot replace a life. All it does is replace the income. But what happens to your family if you don't come home tomorrow? So life insurance on women is critical because your spouse is still going to have to pay someone to do all the things that we do in that unpaid category that typically, and we talked about this yesterday on the show of Invisible Women, that we are the caregivers, we are the homemakers, we typically are preparing the meals, we are typically doing most of the cleaning. So if we're not there, how does our husband do all that? And they need to hire somebody to do that. And so you have to replace the income that you provide to your family, plus you have to replace all that unpaid labor that you bring to your household. So we definitely need life insurance to protect our families against our loss. We also, it's critical to look at long-term care. Long-term care protection is probably the most misunderstood protection piece out there. We all assume that once we're over 65, that Medicare is going to pay for everything that we need for our medical needs, right? Medicare does not pay for long-term care. So if you have been deemed by the medical profession that you need long-term care, which means that you can't do 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living, which are like toileting, dressing yourself, preparing food for yourself, mobility, just daily life, activities of life. I used to have them right at the top of my head, but they're gone for right now. But as simple as that, 2 of those that you cannot function on by yourself qualifies you for long-term care. So once you move into that, let's say that this can be cognitive as well. So let's say that you have Alzheimer's. Someone has to take care of you. Someone has to be there to assist you. Someone, even if it's a physical disability. And let's face it, people, if we live long enough, we're going to face some type of physical challenge. So who's going to be there for us? We just heard in my presentation, we're there for our husbands. Women typically outlive men. So we're there to assist them. We're there to cook for them. We're there to take care of them, to bathe them, to help them through those last few years of their life. Who's going to be there for us? I have 2 sons. I'm hoping my daughter-in-laws like me enough, but I don't think they do. So I'm not counting on it. My one son that moved away told me he would take care of me, but he moved 8 hours away, so we'll see. Um, so if we don't have long-term care protection, who's going to pay for that care? Now, you can get long-term care insurance that will pay you to stay in your home and pay for that additional help to come in and take care of you once you're alone, and you need it. You can also, it will cover you if you go into a facility, but not all plans do that. Some plans say that you have to go into a facility. So if you don't have long-term care protection, what happens if you need long-term care and you don't have the money to pay for it? Anybody know? You go into Medicaid. Medicaid in this country pays for about 48%, 49% of all long-term care needs because people have not planned for it. And in a whole nother lecture that I give, we talk about how longevity is changing everything. We are most likely going to live longer out of retirement, out of working and in retirement than we lived in working years of our lives. So how do we plan for that? How do we prepare for that? If we've got 80% less Social Security, you know, when our husbands pass away, we can get half of their benefit, but that's only half of their benefit. And I'm not sure, I don't know how to answer this because I haven't been able to get an answer, and somebody on the call might know. If I'm drawing my full Social Security and my husband's drawing his full Social Security and he passes away, do I get to continue all of mine and half of his, or do I only get which one is greater? Anybody know how to answer that? That's a question I've been asking for quite some time now. And the rules of Social Security keep changing. So
I thought it was just whichever was greater, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
I have heard situations here recently of a woman whose spouse had passed away. She had been married previously to a man for over 10 years. So if you were married and divorced for over 10 years, you didn't have to be divorced, and you had not remarried or you had become single, you can draw half of that former husband's Social Security benefits. She also could draw her deceased husband's benefits. So she was drawing two. I've heard of situations where possibly three, but I don't know how all that works because I can't figure that one out. But anyway, you are responsible for your retirement. Nobody else is. Social Security was supposed to be a supplement. It was never intended to be what we lived on. So it is not designed to be what we live on. When Social Security was created, there were 42 workers paying into the plan for every one person drawing out of it. Today, that is down to 2.8 people are paying into it for every person drawing out. So it's going to have to change. It's not sustainable the way that it is. And people are living so much longer that it's putting even more of a burden on that. That's why you see the withdrawal age keep increasing. Like our children's age is going to be 70 or greater before they can start drawing. So that means that our working years are becoming longer as well. So when it comes to protecting ourselves, proper insurance, life insurance, long-term care insurance, disability insurance, we're seeing unemployment insurance, which is provided by the state, kicking in right now. But when I ask people, what is your most valuable asset? It's your income. Without your income, you have nothing. You won't have your house. I tease and I tell women, I said, you won't, or I tell men, I said, you probably won't have your spouse if you don't have an income coming in anymore. She's out of here. But we need to have proper protection to protect us against loss of income. And then another milestone that we look at is building wealth. How do you build wealth? Where do you build it at? The stock market is crazy right now, the volatility up and down and up and down. So how do I invest in the market? Because we all know we need to be in the market. The only way to be ahead is to be in the market. But how do we do that safely? And where can I go in investment vehicles and have guarantees and returns that are more than 0.09%, which is what it says? There's $10 trillion in this country invested at 0.09%. And that's crazy. It's just people are afraid to go into the market, so they go into banks. But when you go into banks, the banks are making all the money. You're not. So we have to even all that out. We have to make sure that we have our money protected, but we have our money growing. And then the last step is understanding how to protect the wealth that you have accumulated, and how do you pass that on? So when we talk about protection, what are all the things that can damage our wealth? It's taxation. So we need to understand how taxation works. And when we're investing money in qualified plans, which all of us do, our IRAs, our 403Bs, our 401Ks, all of that money is taxable as it comes out. So if you've worked really hard your entire lifetime and you've paid into your retirement fund, and right now it's 72.5, that the government says, you know what, you've not paid any taxes on that money for the entire time that you've been saving it. Now we want our money. So there's this thing called required minimum distribution. And if you've done well for yourself, you will be in the highest tax bracket in retirement, according to the scale that they tell you that you have to take your money out. So understanding how taxation works. And we all think that none of us really know where taxes are going to go, but right now taxes are at an all-time low. Our tax rates are. I can remember when I was in high school, it was up to 70, 80% taxation in your highest levels. So we as professionals think that taxation most likely is going to go up. I don't know how all of this COVID stuff is going to affect things with the money that we've printed and what all we've entered into the economy. So understanding taxation, understanding inflation, and that can affect how you retire. You have to make sure that your money's growing ahead of inflation. And then if you do want to leave a legacy to your family, how do you leave that legacy? How do you let that money pass on? Do you have a will? Do you have trusts? Do you know that only 29% of Americans actually have a will? It's crazy. You can do it online. We do them all the time in a very simple program for, I think it's $199, maybe it's $99. So everyone should have a will. If you own anything, you should have a trust, because a trust gives you control after the grave of how you want things to be distributed. It also keeps everything in your estate private. Wills are public knowledge, trusts are private. So those are the general areas, Joan, to answer your question very long-windedly, of all the steps that go into a financial plan. The key is working with somebody that you trust, somebody that you feel you have a connection with, somebody that cares about you. And what I have found over the years is that women want to work with women. Even when a husband and a wife have a financial advisor, it typically will be a man, because there's more men in the industry than women, a lot more. But upon the passing of that husband, 9 times out of 10, the surviving widow will fire the advisor and seek out a woman to help her out with the rest of her career, of her retirement career. So huge shortage for women in our industry. I'm always recruiting, always looking for people that want to come in and join this business. But anybody else have any questions for me about anything?
I do.
Okay.
You had talked, I think it was the last series, about having multiple streams of income.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk about that again a little bit?
So
Is it something?
It's real important as far as protecting yourself and understanding, I have 3 different businesses. So I already have a design practice that provides me an income. I have a financial business that provides me several streams within the financial business. And then I have an education business that is hopefully going to start, that's fairly new. So hopefully that'll start bringing in some money too. But what you want to look at is multiple streams because you want to diversify. So I'm going to use Laura as an example here because Laura works for the chamber, but she also has a successful Tupperware career. So people are always looking, and right now with the younger generations, the millennials especially, and some Gen Xers, we're looking for that side gig. We're looking for something to supplement what we're making. As women, because we're pulled in and out of our career so many times, if you have some side gigs going on, or you have a business like my financial business where I'm in complete control of my time, I call the shots. I work when I want to work. I do that with my design practice too because I own it. So I go tomorrow, I've got 2 special needs cases that have come in that I get to travel to 2 different homes. But I do that. I mean, I make my own schedule. I don't have anybody telling me. I've never punched a time clock in my life, except for when I had to co-op when I was going through the University of Cincinnati. And that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, was having to be someplace and somebody tell me when I could take a break and when I could go to lunch and when I could go home. That was very difficult for me. But as we diversify our investments, and we've all heard that term, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to own all one stock. I recommend that your income be diversified as well. Just like with COVID, if you had several streams of income, which I did, I've not really been hurt from this. I have been working all the way through. I also have built up in the financial services business, the way that we earn an income, we build up a recurring business, a recurring income stream. So I have money coming in, whether I'm working always because I'm taking care of my clients and staying in contact with my clients, especially through times like this. You want to be in touch with your clients. But building a recurring stream of income is total freedom. And so that's really what retirement is. When you're building that nest egg, you want that retirement nest egg to be paying you a recurring stream of income. Then your time is free. So you want to diversify. In my financial services business, because I have insurance business out there, I have securities business that pays me a recurring income. I have a team that I override. So when my team is out producing and doing well, I get an income from them as well. Plus I have the opportunity to do on my own pen because I'm fully licensed. So I go out and I sit down and I meet with clients too. So that's what multiple streams of income instead of counting on one. Any other questions? Yvonne?
Hi.
Hi.
Question, kind of to tack on to Joan's excellent question. How do we go about scheduling an appointment with you, doing the assessment you had mentioned, utilizing some of the tools you've spoke about?
Laura's going to have my information up there on chat. For anybody on Facebook, if you want to get a hold of me and have a personal consultation, I don't charge for that. I also don't charge for the book. Our mission truly is to educate people and to eradicate financial illiteracy. But if you want to have a coach or someone to work with you, there is a form at the back of the book that is called a discovery form that you can fill out. I'm trying to find it here. But anyway, there's a question and answer form, very simple information that you can fill out that I can plug into the computer, and I can come back with an analysis for you for free to talk to you about your own personal situation. So because I wear so many hats, I work as an educator. When I'm teaching, I cannot be advising, so I have to talk in generalities, which is what I'm doing here today on this. But when we're sitting down on a one-on-one, then I become your advisor. and we can talk very detailed, very specific personal issues that you have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I saw Laura's comment. Thanks, Laura.
Anybody else?
Hey, Lisa. I think a lot of people think it's just so hard to get started with anything. You know, oh, I don't have any extra money, or I'm just at my first job. You know, I'm new in my career. You know, I've got a lot of things going on. What can, you know, a college student even do to get started?
Well, the number one key is the best time to start is always now. And I talk to a lot of people, even older people, that think, you know, I have friends my age, I'm 61 next month. I can't believe I'm going to be 61, that feel like it's too late. Well, we've already blown it. You know, we've lost all those years that our money could grow, and we've already blown it. But you can't ever have that mindset, and you can't ever think as even teaching your children how to save money at a young age. Saving money is the key. You have to start paying yourself first. And you have to understand there might be some give and take with that. What are you willing to give up for yourself today to be able to have that type of future that you want? So as a cancer survivor, you know, life is short and we never know. We're never promised tomorrow. So I like to talk to people about a balance and understanding that if I tell you that you need to save so much money that you're going to have to really compromise your life today, you're not going to save that money. So we have to work it out. And it's the same way with college students. Number one, I'd like to get a hold of college students before they go to college. We like to talk to the parents about how are you saving for college? What is it, you know, that when I'm talking to the pre-student, what is it that you want to be? And does it really make sense to go into such high college debt for an income that maybe is only going to pay $30,000 or $40,000 a year? So we look at an equation is if your income is going to be $50,000 a year average in the field that you're going into, then you don't ever want to go into student loan debt more than $50,000. It needs to kind of have a balance. So I have clients that are doctors that are in debt $300,000, $400,000 a year, but that's what they're going to make their first year out. So it's all the equation. It's all equivalent to that. So you want to be careful. I know people's hearts are in the right place when they want to go into social work, but if you're going to go into social work, then make sure you have the money to pay for your education and not get student loans for it, because you'll never be able to pay them back. So that's kind of the information. And always look at, you know, I said this yesterday, and it's one of my favorite questions is when somebody talks about buying something, a new home, whatever, I always ask, at what cost? What are you giving up for your future to be able to have that today? Do you really need that $2,000 mortgage? Or could you handle maybe a $1,500 mortgage and pay $500 to yourself for your future every month? So mortgage companies aren't going to tell you that because they want you to go in for that $200,000 or that $2,000 a month mortgage. But you've got to make really wise, smart decisions with your money. And the only way you're going to do that is if you're financially literate. So what's so great about our How Money Works book is it teaches you the concepts and helps you understand why you need to make the decisions that you make. And it teaches you how to think like the wealthy think and not like the poor think or how the sucker thinks. Because let's face it, the financial industry business, that entire world, they want to keep you in the dark. Because the more in the dark that you are, the more money that they're going to make. The more credit cards that these kids take out at 27, 28%, the more money they make. The more people that are so afraid to invest their money, that keep their money in CDs and at the bank accounts at 0.09%, let's face it, the bank's making the money. You're not. So you have to be literate. You have to understand how to make those smart decisions. And helping you have the desire to make those decisions is what the knowledge does. Because then you realize that I can give up maybe that frou-frou coffee today and put that money in a savings account, put that money in an investment. And we have vehicles that help people. If you want to start at $10 a month, we can get you in the market for $10 a month. So any other questions? Tammy, come on, you're the financial guru. You know everything, right?
I have a really random question.
Sure.
Savings bonds.
Yeah.
I don't really know anything about them other than my grandmother has purchased them for all of the grandkids every single year. Are those something that we should continue to hold on to? Or what is your advice on that?
You're very, very low risk. Okay. You buy a bond for a certain amount of money and it will mature to be worth double that usually in several years, right? But once that bond matures, it will continue to grow at a very low rate. So when it comes to investing, you have to remember that the lower the return, the lower the risk, right? Or lower the risk, the lower the return.
Right.
So bond is something that is guaranteed. Did you say it was their grandmother?
Yeah, my grandmother, so she has bought them for all of the nieces and nephews. And I just realized looking in my safe for my Social Security card, somehow I ended up with all of them for the entire family. So, so I have some that like my nieces and nephews don't even really know that they have. So I called my dad and I'm like, I just found like all of these in my safe. And he's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe you should just hold on to them for them. Like, I'm afraid if they know that they have this and they're just going to cash them out just to get the cash quick. And, you know, I
Worth that much if you cash them in. So you want to hold the bond until it matures. And then when it matures, you want to make a smart decision with it. You don't want to blow the money. That's when you want to transfer it over into a different type of an investment. But I think grandma would be very upset if they all cashed them in, because
I would agree.
time value of money. It's just that they're growing at a very low rate in a bond. Bonds are move into, like, once you're in retirement and you want zero risk on your money, that's when you move into bonds. Or you have a portfolio.
My kids, Tiffany, had savings bonds that my grandmother had given them, and I waited until they matured. They were like a year from maturing, and I gave it to them. The part that's gained is taxable to them, but it was at a point in their life when they put it towards their house or, you know, different things like that. Any bank can put them, but mine were okay. I was told the ones that we had, they weren't going to have any more interest added to them once they matured. So I wanted to. There was no sense of holding on to it past that point, and it's to the month.
Do they have a maturity date on them?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go back and look at what those were, because there are a lot of them. She would buy them several times a year for all of the grandkids. So I have this stack of stuff that I'm not just quite sure. So I'll look at that maturity date.
The reason that generation really loved bonds is because that was really what was available to them to save. It also, it's not a guarantee that they're not going to cash them in, but it's not real easy to cash them in. And if you know something's going to be worth double, if you just wait the time out, then so she knew that she was going to give them twice the amount of money that she could give them at that time if they held on to them. So again, that was a way that generation saved money. It's not used so much today. People do bond mutual funds and things like that, but I don't see too many people actually buying bonds. There are some benefits to municipal bonds if you invest in municipal bonds because they're taxed differently. Some of them don't have taxation on them.
Okay, that helps me. Thank you.
Welcome. Anything else? Anything specifically to women? Do you guys understand how it's different for women than it is for men in this money world? So were any of, other than the chamber people, was anybody else on the call yesterday? The Zoom meeting yesterday about invisible women? No. Tiffany, do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really interesting. The one thing that, and I think you were surprised too, Lisa, was the uniforms for military and police officers. I think I told 3 people last night, like, did you know that they don't have separate uniforms? It's the same. That was really surprising to me.
Well, there were things about
Yvonne being a veteran can probably speak to that a little bit.
So Yvonne, what we talked about yesterday, the book is entitled Invisible Women, and how the subtitle of it is Data Biased in a World Designed for Men. And what I discovered in reading the book was that in our military uniforms, that the boot issues are men's boots. You just get a smaller size. The uniforms are still designed for men. They're not fitted for a women's body. So you just get a smaller.
Right.
So did you find any discomfort with your boot not being designed for a woman?
I would say probably one of the biggest things was your chest. And so that was a little awkward. I would also say, and this is going to sound strange, but the armpits would be much lower versus, because our arms are so much smaller. So that was a little unusual, and it would kind of rub you wrong right where your line is here. So, and the crotch height was longer than it probably should have been. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Did you wear any type of flak jacket?
I did, yes.
And that was specifically designed for men as well. So that's where we learned.
Very compressing. So, yes.
So there were things about that we didn't even get to talk about yesterday, and that was in the medical research, that most medical research, like women experience heart attacks very differently than men. Our symptoms are different. They're finding that some medications work differently for men than they do women. But in her book, she declares that all research is based on the male body and not on women. She also claims that medications and pharmaceuticals are tested on only male gendered animals when they go through their laboratory testing. However, I have a very close friend who worked for Eli Lilly for 40 some years, and he says that's absolutely not true. That when they did testing, they had equal sexed animals throughout the entire test. Because I know that the final test of animal testing is on monkeys, because they're as close DNA to us as there is. And he said absolutely it was both female and male monkeys that were tested. So I also I questioned a lot of the stuff that she had in there because of my experience in design and my brother being a design professor at UC. And we carefully look at gender issues and hand sizes and human factors differently for men and women. It's a fantastic book and I recommend it to everybody, but I did question some of this stuff because that's what I do. That's me. But as far as the money issue, there's many, many reasons why women still make less than men. And most of it has to do because we are in and out of the workforce often. So Joan, you could speak to this because you've been the main provider for your family. You've never gone in and out of the workforce, have you?
Nope.
You didn't lose any time when you raised your children or?
Nope. I carried all the insurance, so it was never an option.
Yeah, that's always a big issue, isn't it? But for most of us, and you're in a position now because I don't want to share too much of your personal stuff, but you've been able to go part-time at this phase in your life. So you're helping take care of your grandchildren. I don't know if you have caregiving responsibilities for parents. No.
No, I am a proud client of Lisa's, and she's done a lot to get us. I mean, just information, education, and answering specific questions without judgment, which is why I waited so long to get a financial advisor, because I thought they were judgy and would tell me things I didn't want to do. But then I found Lisa, and that wasn't the case. So
we don't want to tell you things that you don't want to do. We want to inspire you to do the things that you should. That's really what it's all about. It's about inspiring you to make the right decisions, not telling you that you have to. That's not to talk about competition, but in the education world, that's where I so strongly differ with Dave Ramsey, is his programs are so strict that we have found when we come in behind people that have taken those programs, they don't stick with them because they have to compromise so much to at the very, get out of debt before you start saving. Absolutely not. You have to start saving now while you're getting out of debt. So there's just different philosophies with all of that. But when you truly understand the time value of money, you have to start saving now. It's the only time to start, is as soon as you realize that you need to start saving, you start saving. Time's a wasting, as they say. Anything else? Anybody on Facebook have any questions? Can they type in questions if there's any out there?
Yeah, they can type in questions. We've had several people on the whole time, but no questions, no specific questions yet.
All right. Any other comments? We've been in almost an hour, so I guess we can close it out whenever you ladies are ready.
Sounds good, definitely. If anybody has any questions, contact Lisa, contact us here at the chamber. We can get you connected with her. No charge for any of our services, so definitely need to take advantage of that. Doesn't matter really. It just does not matter what age you are, if you're just starting out or if you're at a point where you think, I can't even start to save, I can't do anything, or if you're older and you're just wherever you are in your life, you need to make a plan. Because if there's no plan, there's no way to get to where you want to go to.
The first thing is to understand and determine where it is you want to go. People don't set goals. They don't know what their retirement should look like. And those are questions that we start asking to bring out. You have to have a roadmap to where you want to go, but you got to know where you're going in order for us to guide you to get there. So we will help you discover where it is and how much money you actually need and what you want that lifestyle in retirement to look like.
Very true. Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate you giving us all this vital information during all these series. So I'm sure we'll be touching base with you again soon. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to contact us, and we will see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.